Walking through the pain of a broken heart? Then tune in to Mystic Radio with Rob and Alexis. If you are a widow, navigating loss, or curious about mediumship, join them. Experience live on-air connections between clairvoyant medium Rob and Alexis and her deceased husband, Bob, alongside somatic practitioner and healing guide, Mary Stevenson. Download the KKNW app Fridays at 8 a.m. Pacific or find them on your favorite podcast platform. And let this show help you heal.
Welcome to Mystic Radio with Robin Alexis.
And I'm Bob Wardenero, Robin's husband and producer of Mystic Radio, which is an experience, not an explanation.
Clearing energy for the show.
Welcome back to Mystic Radio with Spirit Lady Robin Alexis. I am Robin Alexis, and you just heard my husband's voice. It is a recording because I am a widow now. Our show was on for almost 20 years, and Bob always produced the show impeccably. Since I am a clairvoyant medium, I asked Bob what the theme of the show was for today, and this is what he told me. If you're into guilt, you're playing God. The universe is created so it's okay to make a mistake. If you feel guilty about what you've done, you're saying it's not okay to make mistakes. Today, let's discover together how Bob's message about the theme of the show unfolds with intimate conversations we're about to have. There were times when Bob would invite other people to co-host with us. And one time he invited screenplay writer Bronell Landrum. She was creating my book, Spirit Lady, The Gift of Robin Song, into a screenplay, and she was very interested in past lives. So Bob invited her on to co-host with us, and she said she didn't have time. So then Bob had another idea. He said, hey, why don't we ask Dr. Nels Rasmussen, who's a frequent guest on Martha Norwalk's Animal World show, why don't we ask him to co-host, and we'll have a special series of shows called Mystic Radio for past lives, people, and pets. So Bob called Dr. Nels, and he said yes. And we did the show for 3 years. It was amazing. If you want to listen to any of those recordings of those shows, all you have to do is search for Mystic Radio for past lives, people, and pets, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and you will find those shows. Ironically, today I thought our guest was going to be my friend Kim, who just had this uncanny knack of showing up when I needed her. She was with me both when Bob passed away, and then she was with me again when I finally got his death certificate. Mary Stevenson and I will talk about that trauma on another show, but right now, Mary and I are going to chat with Nels. Obviously, everything is perfect, and that's why Nels is meant to be with us today. Before we bring our special guest Nels on, let me welcome my co-host, Mary Stevenson. Mary, would you please explain again your professional background and why I invited you to help me with the reality of being a widow?
Thank you, Robin. It's an honor to be sitting here in this space with both of you. Welcome, Dr. Nels. It's really good to see you.
Thank you.
For the listeners tuning in, my background is as a somatic practitioner and healing guide. And what that means in the context of widowhood and deep loss is that I work directly with the language of the nervous system and of the body. When we experience a profound loss like losing a spouse, it isn't just an emotional event, it's a massive neurobiological shock. The body treats loss like a threat, and the nervous system can swing wildly between high anxiety and total exhaustion. My role here with Robin is to provide a steady grounding anchor, a safe floor of stabilization so her body can safely process the layers of grief, love, and major life transitions without getting completely overwhelmed. So we're working to help her find her way back to an embodied experience for her own truth and her inner strength. And Robin, I want to pause on that beautiful message that you brought forward from Bob about guilt. That's incredibly and somatically truthful, because in my work, I see so often that grief and guilt are completely tangled. when a partner passes and the mind, loves to torture itself about the what ifs and the regrets. But guilt is a mental trap and it keeps us stuck in our heads. So trying to rewrite history doesn't really work. I love Bob's message because it's gentle and it's kind of a command like, how do we get out of that mental loop and stop judging ourselves for being human and let ourselves simply feel that raw, honest reality of the present moment? And now, Nels, let's bring you on. It's no accident that you were here today. So we're so happy that you're here. And maybe you can share a little bit about your background and yeah, what you think of Bob's theme of guilt and mistakes.
Okay. Right. Okay. So my background, first of all, is I'm a chiropractor, now retired from active practice doing chiropractic. I have been doing animal healing and people healing through an energetic method called bioenergetic synchronization, which is what I use with people and with animals. A variation of that I developed, which is called neuroenergetic balancing. And that helps both with physical and emotional issues for people and their pets. And before the show, briefly, we talked about how animals are connected to the people, and when a partner passes, it can be so traumatic for them. So what I do is I help them to sort out their neurological and energetic connections that have become stuck in a pattern. And for you, Mary, it's the pattern of trauma that people experience. Well, animals experience too, and it's generally they experience it because of the person's emotions, and they're so tied in and connected to in this case, to Robin's emotions, her cats are, that it's, I have to work with Robin and the animals to really help sort that out. Was there more that we needed to talk about that?
No, but maybe we'll come back to that because that's fascinating, and I think people don't always recognize the true sort of connection, the nervous system's almost bonding together and going through
Yes.
the trauma as one. So that's really interesting. I'm curious what your take is on the idea of guilt.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the work I do with the bioenergetic synchronization, it is about the emotions that people experience and how those affect us physically, how they actually lock us into physical response patterns. And so, guilt is just one of those energetic patterns that we do when we essentially, for some reason, decide that we're somehow responsible for something that in most cases we really aren't. And even if we were, as Bob said, we make mistakes and it's okay. We make mistakes.
Yeah,
And
and I
Nels,
think,
oh,
oh,
go
go ahead,
ahead,
Robin.
Mary. Oh, all right. Nels, you were one of a very few group of people that Bob trusted, and he worked with you. I think it was every 2 weeks for years and years. And so
Yes,
with Mary, obviously my choice is to work with someone who I can tell my story and speak it out loud and share it on the radio and podcasting so that as many people as possible can get the information and maybe avert some of the trauma that Bob and I created innocently because we didn't understand what losing a partner would get the other partner into. But with you, Bob didn't have to tell you exactly what was going on. And so, for people who are listening who might want to work with your technique, could you explain how you worked with Bob when he was alive?
certainly. What Bob would do is he would have a list of a number of things. I think, if I recall, we always used 36. Sometimes he'd switch things out from his list, but what I would do was tune in to the list and basically say, okay, Bob, I want you to look at number 15 and think about that. And then I would do my muscle testing procedure on my end since I wasn't with him physically. And that would tell me whether or not that really was a reactive thought, a thought that created a physical response in his body. And when I found one that created a physical response, then we would go through a procedure that would bring out the emotion. He would never have to tell me details. I would find what that emotion was that was creating a pattern of response. And then we go through a procedure that essentially replaces it with a positive vibration instead of the negative vibration to which Bob was responding.
Now, I don't know that Bob told me, and maybe he didn't tell you, but maybe it was on his chart that he worked with you. Did he process with you the fear of death that you know of?
I believe he did near the end when he was going through, through his medical process. He did mention some things about that, and I know without him telling me directly that's what we're going through. I know that we did work on that at least a couple of times.
Yeah, because he was incredibly vulnerable towards the end. One time, he actually came downstairs. We had a two-story home, and he basically had the upstairs, and it was very oriented to his physical needs of discomfort. And then I, made the downstairs comfortable for myself so that he could have the space he needed. But one day he came downstairs and he crawled into the bed and he crawled into my arms and he was crying. And he just said, I'm really afraid to die. And he couldn't stay in my arms very long because he was very challenged physically, which is why he was upstairs in his chair where he could be comfortable. But he was so upset. He came downstairs and, got in my arms and was so vulnerable, crying. And it's like, it was just such a tender moment between the two of us. And I'm wondering if, other people listening have shared things like that with their partners who were getting ready to go in for heart surgery or some other kind of surgery where just for a moment you get to be with that person where they share that fear. And
Robin.
I'm glad you helped him with it. Yes, Mary?
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I just wanted to acknowledge the rawness and the connection and the most real moments where we can touch into somebody's soul. Um, and I know that that helped him tremendously. And many, many moments like that. And so we're going to take a break. But when we come back, we're going to hear more and maybe about the incredible tree planting story with you and your wife, Martha. So stay tuned and we'll be right back on Mystic Radio.
When life leaves you feeling untethered, how do you reclaim your center and step back into your full power? Mary Stevenson is a somatic practitioner and healing guide who helps individuals rebuild from the inside out. Reclaim your personal authority and save $100 on your first session using the code MYSTIC at marystevenson.com/coaching. That's Stevenson, spelled STEPHENSON.com/coaching. Your path forward is waiting.
This is Martha Norwalk, every Sunday morning beginning at 9 a.m. Thanks in part to Linda Rasmussen at verticalenergyworldwide.com, we cover the world of animals. This week, July 19th, it's an encore presentation. Tune in to hear our last shelter rescue sanctuary and anything that helps our animal friends Sunday. We talked with Meow Cat Rescue, Help Animals India, Animals 24-7, and a great update on Spiritual Renewal Week at Ananda Village. Hope you can join us, Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Welcome back to Mystic Radio. Before the break, we were talking about Bob's beautiful message of stepping out of guilt and allowing ourselves to heal. And Robin shared a beautiful moment that she had with Bob. And this brings me to the purpose of the show, right? That Bob really requested that we could open this up to the general population to understand the process of grief and healing and honoring, right? So there's this concept of, how do we go through this with the loved one who has also passed? And one of the beautiful ways that Bob requested that he would be honored was that people plant trees in memory of Bob. And there are many beautiful stories of what's happened so far. But Dr. Nels, I'd love to invite you to share that tribute that you and your wife, Martha, created, and maybe tell us a little bit about that tree planting experience.
Okay. Yes. Well, my wife and I were in the process of creating some landscaping, some gardens around our pond. And that's when we got the message about Bob would love to have trees planted in his honor. And so, as a remembrance, we had just got a pink dogwood that we had in our past house that we had moved away from several years ago, and so we wanted to plant this thing, and then Martha, my wife, created a sort of a vision for a little mound in front of it near the pond with a stone on it, and some other plants around it, some small shrubs. And it's really interesting to me that everything's doing well, but the pink dogwood is almost like it's in a stasis right now. It's not really growing. And we talked to the experts at the place where we bought it from, and they said sometimes for, reasons we don't understand, a plant will get root shock. And I'd never heard of root shock before. And so they said you might expect it to really come into its own next year. This year, it is processing something that is important for the plant to process. It's obviously not dead. It's just not doing what one would expect at this point. So it's a very interesting thing. I thought I should share that because uh, it's not all rainbows and unicorns.
Well, you created a video, I think. Isn't that on your YouTube channel? Of
Um, no, I don't think I did on that particular. Yeah.
okay. Well, anyway, you sent me videos and it was very, very, very moving. And before Bob passed, we we did discuss the possibility of him crossing over, even though he only had a 4% risk of not making it. He was 77, and I had already bought my urn. I had bought my urn decades ago because I've had doctors tell me I was going to be dead 40 years ago. And so I've been prepared. I bought an urn because if you wait until after you're dead and people have to buy an urn at the funeral home, they're really expensive, but you can actually get one on Amazon or you can have one made that's like, $50 or something. And so anyhow, how Bob had picked out an urn that was beautiful. It had a tree of life carved into it and it was wooden. And he'd picked out a tree. It was a golden moon Japanese maple. And we put it in a flower pot, um, just in case. And we kind of did these things very lightheartedly because we didn't think he was going. But anyway, um, after he crossed, I just couldn't. I didn't have the strength to dig the hole myself and to plant it correctly. And a friend of ours, particularly of Bob's, his name is Miguel, he came over and he very ceremoniously, dug the hole and he put around the tree after he planted it. Bob loves spearmint. And so every morning he would go out and he would cut spearmint out from the garden and then he'd make himself spearmint tea. And then, of course, in the off season of summer, we would dry the spearmint. And so the house in the morning always smelled of spearmint. So we planted spearmint around this tree. The tree's growing really well. We put some of Bob's lapis lazuli around it. And then I found a dead robin bird and I gently placed the dead robin bird by Bob's tree. So that's my story about Bob's tree.
Oh, Robin, that's so beautiful. I the memory of especially smells, right? The spearmint and the ease in which you moved into sort of these ideas about where to have a whose urn, and then the trees, and sort of the way that that our souls have us do the work to prepare when we don't really know that it's the
Mhm.
preparation. And I do feel Bob definitely here with us. I don't know. It's funny. He said something like, "Well, I was always a little competitive, in terms of going first or something like that." But I told him that I was going to plant a tree in Central Park in August, and he's really happy about that. So we'll have to figure out the perfect place. But his Bob was an East Coaster after all, right? He was born in New Jersey, and Bob and I used to always talk about, I'm getting verklempt. Bob and I used to always talk about that. We had that in common. And when I would spend time in New York City and book an appointment with Robin, we would be talking about New York and New Jersey and Central Park and his days in New York City. So anyway, that just came up, and I'm glad that Bob's here, and he's just feeling very serene about this conversation, which is very beautiful. Wow. Thank you, Bob. I'm glad you're approving of New York City. And we'll have to figure out what that tree is, but we'll work on that. So, Dr. Nels, that was a beautiful story. What what can you tell us just about, I guess, nature, but also for the animals? I'm curious, something that the audience might take away for soothing the animals when someone has passed.
Mm. Wow. With animals, the thing is that they're so tied in to their people, and so if their primary person is the one who's deceased, then that's a big deal for them, and they're, I'm sure, looking to the other partner, other members of the family for some kind of solace and reassurance that things are really okay, the world's not over, and the kind of work I do is a physical way that is designed to help reset their nervous system, particularly the fight flight system, which gets activated whenever we encounter a shock or a serious stress. So, uh, yeah, I can't really explain that over the air, but it is something. I actually have a program that people can get and learn how to do it.
How do they get it?
Well, you contact me. The best way is through my website, which is healingministryforanimals.com. And if I can also give out my phone number, but I really think the website's the way to go. It's just so much more efficient to get to me immediately. And then I will, if you have a request for that program, the Rasmussen Reset program, then I would get that set up for you. It costs $50 for the program. And in order to be able to buy anything from me, you have to be a member of my private association, which costs all of $10. So that's all part of the process of getting things from me is joining my membership.
I
So,
love
Nels, would it help animals if people, before trauma happens in their household, to do that program so that they're already trained and know how to do that with their animals? That would prevent trauma to the animals.
Yeah, that's a beautiful comment because, in fact, I work with my animals all the time, and they're not having trauma. But I try to do a weekly tune-up on my animals, and just like I work with your animals, your cats, every couple of weeks. So it is good. And if you are versed in doing the reset, and you've practiced it, the animal is already comfortable with you doing it, so that if there is some kind of trauma that they go through, emotional or physical, you can do this tune up and it will help them to reset their nervous system and heal faster.
It's so exciting, the opportunity to ease trauma before it even happens. I mean, we all know death is going to happen. We all know trauma is going to happen. It's part of life. So if we can utilize these two wonderful people that we have on Mystic Radio today, their gifts to help you and your families have an easier time, I hope you will get a hold of both of them. Nels, would you say again how people can get a hold of you?
Yes, just go to healingministryforanimals.com and you can find information about me and my work there. It's about animals, but I also work with people as well.
And Mary, how do people get a hold of you?
People can get a hold of me also at my website, which is Mary Stevenson with a PH.com. And one thing I'd love to do before we close out the show today is I just love for us to take a moment, Robin and Nels, and as a trio, just be really grateful for the chance to bring Bob's presence and his wishes together in this moment, and know that this is part of the healing journey. Just witnessing how it is for both of you who have had long histories with this beautiful man, and the journey that we're all on of, learning that life is lived and there are traumas, yes, but there's beauty in the healing journey as well. And so I just want to thank both of you and Dr. Nels especially for this really rich conversation today. Healing and releasing our mistakes and honoring those that we love. So Nels, thank you so much for stepping in today and being that perfect intended presence. And Robin, for your bravery and your courage to come back on here in your honoring of both you and Bob and the longevity of this beautiful radio show. So we want to just honor you for being on this journey with us.
Thank you, Mary. And let's remind everyone, if you want to hear the 3 years of shows that we did, Mystic Radio, Past Lives, People and Pets, they're great shows. All you have to do is just search where you search your favorite podcasts and they'll pop up and you can listen to all the shows. And then you're really going to be inspired to work with Nels. Now, on those shows, you will hear advertisements that you can work with me. That is actually not true right now. I am not offering my services. I am receiving right now. And the goal is to honor Bob's legacy, to get the wisdom out, but also to get me back running and ready so that I can work again. So for right now, go to Dr. Nels and Mary Stevenson. Thank you all for listening.
Take care, everybody. See you next time.
You've been listening to Mystic Radio with Robin Alexis. Are you a widow or grieving a deep loss? Are you curious about mediumship? Then this show is for you. Join clairvoyant medium Robin Alexis as she speaks live on the air with her deceased husband, Bob, while being supported by somatic practitioner and healing guide, Mary Stevenson. Download the KKNW app Fridays at 8 a.m. Pacific, or listen wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If you are suffering from a broken heart, let this show help you heal yourself.